Welcome back to another week of How's the Rutherford County Real Estate Market. This is the week ending September 14th. I'm John Turner, the team lead with the Turner Victory team at Onward Real Estate, and I appreciate you coming in. This week we have some really interesting things to discuss. First of all, we'll do like we do every week, go over the past week's stats. But I also want to look at some mortgage information. We also have information about the number of price drops. And then at the end, we've got some very important numbers about showings. How many showings listings are getting, and how does this compare to last year as well? So appreciate you joining in. Let me jump over here and get started on the, get this set up. We'll get started on the screen here. All right, so this week, 1,593 available homes on the market. This is a high since I've been tracking this. I actually started tracking this in October of 2022, so we're coming up on 3 years worth of data that I've been pulling, and this is the highest number we've seen yet. New listings, 121. We'll see how those compare. Pending this week, 92. We'll look at all this in relationship to last year, and where we were. Closed listings, 66 were early in the month. So generally speaking, not as many things close earlier in the month as they do later in the month. We have closed 1,406 homes in the past 30 days. Our month supply currently across all ranges is 3.4 month supply. I will go ahead and tell you that did jump up this week. It goes back, a lot of it has to do with the number of available inventory right now. We are in the twos, and we would expect this below 300,000. But look, the 700 still remain really strong right there. 2.72 month supply of inventory. That's our second strongest price point in relation, as far as supply goes. So, and whenever I say strongest, I mean from a seller standpoint. It is interesting, though, that we did not pin any in that price range this week. So we'll see how those numbers are affected moving forward. 10% of the homes below 300,000 went under contract this week. So overall, we are still in a healthy market. We are technically still in a seller's market. Some price ranges are a slow seller's market, but we are in a seller's market. So let's go over here and look at some of our graphs. As I slide over here at the bottom, our new listings. The blue line, light blue line is this year, dark blue line is last year. Our new listings last week were up, and this is not this past week, but week before had 177. We dropped back down to 121 this week, compared to 111 this time last year. I'm not sure what that increase was for, but this is closer to the range where we would expect it to be right now. Our pending chart, after 3 good weeks of pendings, last week and this past week, so 2 weeks ago and this week, we are down. Last year at this time, we had 134 pending home sales. This week, we had 92, so that's quite a significant drop year over year. It's actually an increase from last week, though. We had 84 last week and 92 this week. So it is an increase over last week. And if you notice, last week, for some reason, was the lowest of the year all the way back to early January. So not really sure why that is. I think I will give you my hypothesis on it, and I think I'm probably pretty close on this. And I think that the reason why our pending home sales are a little slow right now is because the general public has heard that the Fed is going to drop interest rates this coming week, September 17th. That's supposed to happen. It's a high 90% chance that they will be doing that. And I think the general public's heard that, and they're thinking, oh, well, I'll wait till they drop interest rates. Remember, the interest rates that they drop are not mortgage rates. Mortgage rates have already reacted to that. They've reacted to that, quite frankly, over the past month with all the different reports coming out, but especially over the past week to 10 days. So whenever September 17th comes along, I don't look for mortgage rates to make a huge jump because one way or another because of what the Fed does with the actual interest rates. Now, there will be some other information that comes out from their meetings and some talking points, and there's some reports coming out, and all those things can make mortgage rates go up or can make them go down, but the actual reduction of interest rates probably will not have an impact unless the Fed moves the interest rates 50 basis points, which would be 0.5%, because the market's expecting 0.25%. So a 0.5% drop might end up moving mortgage rates quite a bit. But if it's a 0.25% drop, barring some other information that comes out, I don't see a huge reaction from the mortgage rates. But we'll see. It's always fun to try to figure this out and just see really what's going to happen. Can't predict the future. I do like looking at trends though. So let's move on. Month supply chart. If you notice, we jumped up to 3.4 month supply this week. That definitely was a jump, and it takes us, we have to go all the way back to right here, the 18th week of the year. So that would be April, May, to see inventory levels, month supply levels that high. Available inventory. I actually have another chart for this that I think shows it a little bit better here. If you look at this available inventory, this goes back to October of 2022. And you can see that, remember, mortgage rates jumped in June. Was it June? Yeah, June of 2022. And they started going up. And in October, I started pulling these numbers on a weekly basis. And we saw inventory rise. But then as we got to the first of the year, and you can see it on this chart, inventory started going down. And it really didn't rise to the levels of those October numbers for a long time. Even at the beginning of 2024, we saw very low inventory levels. I think we actually hit below 800 units at one point there. And we've seen the steady rise. This X, if you can see it right there, that is this time last year. So this time last year, we were sitting just below 1,200 available units. As we went on, inventory started actually dropping. And if you remember, mortgage rates about this time last year started really easing. We're going to look at this here in a minute. We're kind of on the same trend this year as we were last year. And because of that, we saw more homes go under contract. So that ate into some of that available inventory. But then starting at the first of the year, we've been on a pretty drastic climb in available inventory. And right now we are at 1,593 units, which, again, is the highest since I've been keeping this. And I would certainly say the highest since pre-COVID. I haven't gone back to look at the 2019 numbers, but I feel confident in saying in the past 5 years, we have not had inventory levels where we are right now. Let's take a second with that, because sometimes I just give you this information and I don't put a whole lot of dialogue with it. I'm here just providing info for you. But what that means is if we have more inventory, just go back. If you ever took any type of economics class, think about supply and demand, okay? Whenever there is a lot of supply, but not as much demand, okay? A lot of supply, not as much demand. What does that do to prices? That puts downward pressure on prices. Go back to the COVID years. We saw little supply and a lot of demand, and that was a big upward pressure on prices. So just remember that the current trends that we're at is putting downward pressure on prices. So from a buyer standpoint, you have more choices right now. There's more inventory out there, quite a bit more inventory out there. From a seller standpoint, buyers have more choices. They're being pickier. They're being slower to react. They are looking for, quote unquote, a deal. Okay, it does not mean homes will not sell. We've had plenty of home sales this year. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're down, but still plenty of home sales. But if you're a seller, you've got to be serious about selling. You've got to look at your competition. You've got to figure out how to position yourself better than your competition, because buyers have choices right now, and there's a true lack of buyers compared to the demand or compared to the supply. Now, with that said, mortgage rates are trending down right now. Every time mortgage rates trend down, we see a few more buyers come into the market. We'll talk about the buying power here in a minute and what that does for a buyer as far as their buying power goes. So just want to take a minute to go off on that sidetrack a little bit, just so I can explain that to you. I always assume that it's just common knowledge, but again, just wanted to take a little moment with that. Let me see, we already did the available inventory. You can see the amount of homes pended in red here compared to the market. Definitely past couple of weeks has dropped there as well. So let's jump up. We were talking about mortgage rates a minute ago. Let's look at mortgage rates here. All right. Now, what I've done is I've pulled this chart back. This is the past couple of years, going back to actually January 1st, 2023. You can see that right there. And just wanted a refresher on what they have done, what they're doing. Remember, this is the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Mortgage rates are going to vary depending on what type of loan you get, what your credit score is, all sorts of different things. But this trend line will tell us basically what's been happening with them. So don't get caught up as much with the actual rate as we do with the differences and how they've trended. So if we go back to January in 2023, mortgage rates, the average 30-year mortgage rate across the nation was 6.48%, so almost 6.5%. We saw them drop pretty drastically here. Now, this is really interesting because they kept going up. We actually peaked out at almost 7.8%. There were some mortgage rates, I think, depending on the type of loan you went with, that actually may have hit 8%. So, but then all of a sudden there was this drastic drop pretty quickly, right in here. All right, so they went from almost 7.8 down to 6.6, so a 1.2% drop. All right, let me take you back. Where was it? Over here. When did that happen? You could see it right here. See how our inventory levels went down right here? See that? They went down because right here, mortgage rates were high. Inventory went up. Mortgage rates started dropping, and look what this inventory did right here. Started dropping off. So down in here, we got to our lowest points of inventory. Buyers did not have as many choices then. They didn't have as much leverage then. So it's very interesting. Then from that point, if we go back over here to the mortgage rates, we could see how they went back up. And then things started going down again. If we look at October of last year, see, October of last year, they went up so much, but October of last year, again, got a little bit shorter on inventory. They are mimicking what mortgage rates have done. So it's going to be interesting as we look at our inventory charts right up here and where we are. With mortgage rates dropping, I feel like we may see this inventory level drop. The more it drops, the more sellers have leverage and buyers have less leverage. And that's what your agents may be telling. I mean, if you're one of my clients, I don't preach that whole lot because I want you to buy when it's a good time for you. But if you're trying to time the market, and I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm an old man. It's so hard to time the market, okay? But looking at these trends, I would expect inventory levels to get a little tighter. Also, we've talked in previous sessions about builders are starting to pull back their building. They're giving really good incentives right now. So if you're looking at new construction, let's get together because across the nation, across Rutherford County, everywhere, builders are giving some really good incentives. So we really need to talk about that now because as this inventory tightens up, builders are going to be giving less incentives. And quite frankly, as long as it takes them to build a house, we may find ourselves in a little bit more of an inventory bind. I'm not predicting that yet, but it is something I'm keeping my eye on. So, but anyway, just interesting stuff here. To put this in another perspective for you, a home buyer, this came out from Redfin News, but a home buyer who has a $3,000 a month budget, you've gained $22,000 in purchasing power since June. And that's due solely to the interest rate drops, okay? So basically, if you were going to be able to afford, if you were going for a $3,000 a month mortgage, if that's what you're looking for, whatever price that was, I have not put that to paper, there's a lot of variables there, you now can afford a $22,000 more expensive house and pay the same mortgage, okay? So that's what interest rate drops do for you. Little thing from another place I follow some news. The speed of the housing market softening has slowed, but softness remains. And what this is saying is we were seeing a big, basically the number of metros that were seeing month over month, the home prices decline. All right, so from last month to this month, home prices declining. At one point, there were 71% of those out of the 200 biggest metros that saw those price declines month over month. Right now, that's gone to 55%. So we are still seeing month over month declines in some markets across the nation, but not near as many as what we had seen previously. Something else to look at right here. The Rutherford County, this is another place where I pull some information. This place has our sellers, and this is from the motivated seller standpoint, they have us at 4.42%. We are getting closer to what they would consider down here as motivated. Our sellers across all price points. But right now, there's still some stubbornness. I hear it all the time. Well, it only takes one to buy a house. Or, man, maybe someone will still come in from California and offer me this amount for it or whatever. Y'all, anything can happen, but let's get realistic. I mean, the market is going slower. We do not have the influx of all the buyers coming in with all the cash. And quite frankly, if they're coming in with cash in this market, they think they're getting a deal. Okay? That's what they're looking for. They're not looking to overpay for a house. And every time I list a home, I always hear the seller say, I understand that about that home, but my home is different. Almost word for word, that's what we hear. Let me tell you something. Every home is different, but that does not mean that every home is going to garner X amount more than its competition. It just does not work that way. And buyers are too savvy. Buyers, you have choices. You're not about to go out and overpay for a house, right? Whatever overpay is. But, it's very rare for someone to really just be fighting over a house unless it's just been priced extremely well or something like that, or it's so unique that there's a reason to do that. So from a seller standpoint, let's get a little bit more realistic about the market. You're going to need to. So another thing that I find very interesting, we're always working with our sellers and trying to talk about how many showings we think we're going to have, how do we compare to the competition, because that's a stat that you really need to watch. So if you look at this, the grays 2024, the blues 2025, and this is broke down in $100,000 segments. And this is the average showing per listing. And this is over a 90-day span. The past 90 days of 2025, and I compared to the same 90 days in 2024. So if you look at this in the 200 to 300 price range, the average listing is getting 6.5 showings versus they were getting 9.2. In the $300,000 to $400,000 range, it's down about half a showing. It's actually up just slightly in the $400,000s. That was a little surprising. You're down about a little over one showing per listing in this time frame here. Down a little bit in 600s. For the most part, everything's down. Now, the 900s is really interesting because it is actually up. And if you remember, several months ago, I was talking about we just had way too many homes in the 900,000s. Well, that inventory's come way down and the month supply is down. So that really does not surprise me that much. So what we like to do is we always like to try to compare where we are showing wise to what our competition is doing. So we look at that every week with our sellers and try to provide that information because it's important to you. It's one thing if you're not getting showings, or if you get one showing or two showing. Is that good? Is that bad? Who knows? What's the rest of the market doing? You need that information to know. You may feel good about 3 showings, but if your competition got 7 showings, then maybe you aren't quite presented right or priced right. So, no, that's what we've got this week. Once again, we are always looking at these stats. If you appreciate them, I would certainly appreciate you commenting below just to let us know that you're watching in, especially if you're watching all the way to the end. Some of you do, but I know a lot of you don't. But let us know that you watched. And also, if you want to type in there any other information you would like to have, we're always trying to figure out what's the best information to bring to you, because we do this for you. I mean, we do it for our clients. We want to help them, but I know we have a lot of real estate agents that look at this and use this. You'd rather me pull the stats you not have to worry about it. And I'm fine with that. Y'all can use our stats for whatever. We want to educate our clients, whether it's Turner Victory Team's clients or whether it's somebody else's clients. So we're always here to help. And certainly look at this. Like I said, give us suggestions if there's anything else you want to see. I'm John Turner. I'm the team lead of the Turner Victory Team at Onward Real Estate. And again, we bring this to you every week. We hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, let us know. But until next week, please be safe. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.